Today, I want to talk with you about something. It's really just more of an inspirational message, and it's something that's been on my mind a lot lately. It's been coming up a lot in my coaching sessions. I felt compelled to tell you or share this with you in hopes that it will get you over the hump, whatever that hump might be. But if I had to give this a title, I might say the one step you need to take in order to max out your success. But it could also be titled "How I Hope You Look at Stuff So You Don't Settle." Just you pick your title, but go with me on this. I've got a 15-second version, and I've probably got a 10 to 15-minute version. I'm going to give you the latter to hopefully make sense out of the 15-second version. But sometimes, all these how-tos that we do, and step 1 and step 2 and step 3, sometimes I just want to have a conversation with you, and I want to do that today. And so I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I know a lot of you probably know, and if you don't, I'm literally wrapping up this week the manuscript for my 4th book, and it's a career development book. It's going to give you a whole framework, a bunch of lessons, help you build a plan for how you can navigate your career. Doesn't matter what your profession is, but if you want to become the best of the best, this book will help you do that. And I basically wrapped it up on Monday morning. And then I went right into 3 coaching sessions, like boom, 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 right in a row. I don't normally do that. It was kind of an odd schedule, but that's the way it had happened to shake out. And I was thinking about it as I was writing, and in different words, I probably shared the same sentiment with the 3 people I spoke to, all who were in precarious positions. That's what people, right? I mean, you would expect that. No one calls me and has a coaching session to tell me everything in their life is great. They need help. And so I was sharing this with them, and I was thinking about it, and I wanted to bring it to you. And so each morning for the last 5 months, I get up and I write. That's the first thing that I do in the morning. Generally now, it's a bit of an uncommon schedule for me because I'm writing a book, which changes some of the things I normally do in my morning routine. But I don't just get up and then sit down and start writing. The first thing that I do before I actually write is I spend a few minutes, sometimes 2, sometimes 5, sometimes longer, depending on what I'm writing in the book. And I think about who's going to read this book. And I guess that's a pretty good tip for any of you that are putting together a presentation or writing a white paper or a blog post or a social media message or whatever it is that you're doing. Thinking about who you're writing it for. And I think about the 22-year-old who's graduating college and has loads of intention and aspiration, but doesn't really have the formula or isn't directed in how to develop their professional life. Or maybe the 50-year-old, the person who's got, kind of more tread on their tires, and really just kind of needs to get back on track. You don't go that long, 30 years in your career, without kind of swaying along the highway. You sort of need your alignment, put back in place. Or maybe there's the 38-year-old who's at that fork in the road in their career, and they're trying to figure out, should I go? Should I stay? Can I make the best of it? And I think about these people, and I obsess over these people. I think about them just like I think about you when I come to a live show, whether I've had a coaching session with you, or I just know your YouTube handle, or I see it in the chat, or maybe you've sent me an email, or maybe you haven't even communicated with me at all, but I know you're there. I have faith you're there, and I think about you. And then I think about how it's going to be used. And I think when you strip everything down, there's really 2 kinds of people, and this is what I was sharing with the people that I coached on Monday. There's really 2 kinds of people, and there's a line in between. And we'll get to kind of how I would classify them, and you can figure out which one you are here in a minute. But I don't just think about who's going to read the book. I think about how they're going to use the book. And this starts getting into the differences in the kind of people. And the book, I know you obviously haven't seen the book yet, basically it's got an introductory part about why the book is necessary. It's got what I called a technical set, kind of like here's some lessons that I want to, so we can dial your mindset in so you can actually get the most value out of the book. And then we go into, and here's my methodology, and here's the formula, and why I believe this to be true. And then let's help you fill in the formula with 15 lessons. These are like really good deep dive lessons on skill sets that I think will make you successful, kind of like a career self-help book or your career syllabus, so to speak. And then there's a planning section where you can go in and take an assessment, build a plan, and then operate it to actually develop your career. And so I think about, what are people going to do as they go through the book? So as I'm writing, I'm trying to envision, I literally try to put my hat on that it's you. And so I know there's going to be people who pick it up, read the first few pages, put it down, say, Andy, you're a nice guy, but this isn't for me. I'm not going to put the time in. No problem. There's some people that are going to read that technical set. They're going to read those lessons, and they're going to fizzle out, just like a lot of people fizzle out on books. I don't take it personally, but I know they'll get some value if they read that. And then there's the other people who are going to continue on. They're going to read the methodology, say, all right, I'm buying this. Let me get into the lessons. They'll read the lessons. Maybe that's all they'll do, but they'll get something out of it, and that'll be that, and I'll be happy. And then there's the person who's going to go a step further and put the plan together. I'll be really happy, but they'll put the plan together, but they won't use it, right? That law of diminishing intent kicks in where you're excited to do something, but then you don't follow through because as time goes on, the intention wanes. But there's one person left in 100 that'll put that plan together and then use it to operate their life, their professional growth. And what's going to separate that person is not their skill set, but there is a level of what I call necessity that person, for themselves, it's important that they succeed to the level that they can. And for the people that they build the product, provide the service, or whatever it is, the value that they're contributing to the world, it matters. There's a level of necessity that drives them, not just personal ambition, but really the service element. And when I think about that person, there's a different characteristic related to that person. And when I think about what separates that kind of person from the other 99 people, and it has nothing to do with my particular book as much as it does whatever your profession is. And when you think about the difference, is my opinion, but my opinion is based on observation of talking to tens of thousands of people in the recruitment profession, in the employment profession, in the career development profession, coaching profession, and all the people that I've met with. It's my opinion that people spend their entire careers in jobs well below their talent level. And there are reasons for this. And the first thing I want you to do is pause and ask yourself, is what you're doing, are you truly getting the most out of who you are? Are you drawing on your best self and really going for what you want and what you think you're capable of, or are you settling? It's an observation, and I think there's a huge difference because a lot of us, the difference in the two people, the set of standards that you set for yourself as far as how you're going to go through your profession, how you're going to go through your entire life. There's a line between the people where there are a lot of ought tos, shoulds, I even coulds, but I'm not. I haven't. For whatever reason, fear of failure, don't want to put the effort in, don't want to make the sacrifices, but you know you're not operating or maxing out your God-given talent and your abilities or the things you can hone. And then there's the people on the other side, that 1 in 100 person who says, no, it's must. I must. There is a different level of expectation of themselves, and not just themselves, but the people they surround themselves with, including companies, which I'm going to get to here in a minute, about how you think about companies you join. But think about for yourself, am I going to max out my abilities because what I do is necessary? I remind myself every day, I hope you do this or find a way to do this for yourself. I show up every week because it's necessary. I send you a newsletter every Tuesday and Thursday because it's necessary to me that you need my help. Now, you can take my help or not take my help, but I know there are people that are out there who embrace this and want my help, and I believe that what I'm doing matters. It doesn't matter how many people read the email. It doesn't matter how many people come to the live shows. It doesn't matter how many people watch the videos or buy the programs. There's a level of necessity that I have to do what I can do to make what I deliver the best it can possibly be. It's necessary. There is no, I should do this, I should do that, I ought to do this, I ought to do it. I will, I must. Right? And that's kind of the first clue. Are you on the side of there's a necessity that drives you? And that's a very, very hard place to get to because of all the demands that we place on ourselves and all the things that come at us and the cynicism that a lot of us tend to gain with a head of steam as we go through life. So the first thing, that I would think about is what side of the line am I on? Am I on the ought to side, or am I on the no, it's necessary. I will do whatever it takes. That person who thinks that long-term failure is not an option, and I say long-term failure because short-term failures are requirements in order for you to grow. And a lot of people that I encounter, they're stifled because the fear of failure is so present. And I wish I could lobotomize them to show them that you're mistaking feedback for failure, and that failure is necessary. You need to design a life to fail over and over. We are professional failures, one after another. The more we do it, the better we'll get if it's interpreted properly and if it's designed properly. But I see a lot of people who are unwilling to get to the other side because they're afraid of that or for whatever reasons. But the first thing that I wanted to say is that I want you to think about that. And there is a huge, huge difference. And if you need a scoot in order to get to the other side of the I wills and it's necessary, the one thing that you absolutely need to do, you know how the idiom goes, right? If you want to be able to survive on the island, the first thing that you need to do is what? You got to burn the boat. Whatever that boat is for you. But a lot of people, they might get off the boat and they might start walking in, but they know the boat's there. Or they got 1 foot in the boat, 1 foot out of the boat. And so I want to give you this analogy about what I mean and how close you can be. So one of the women I was coaching on Monday, her name was Karen. Her name is Karen, I should say. And she had emailed me a week ago and said she was interviewing with this company that was recently acquired by another company. This company is local. Actually, she happens to be in the Chicagoland area where I am. And so she said, I went through the entire process and I'm down to the end, and the CEO wants to meet with me to discuss compensation and basically wants to know how much I want in the way of salary. And so I said to her, okay, great. We'll have the coaching session. We did this Monday. And I said, do me a favor, just give me a bullet point encapsulation of kind of what's happened so far. You'll get to, tell me live, but just let me start thinking about this. What happened? Give me the job description, give me your resume, and let me know kind of who you met with. So she sends me the stuff and I tell her, okay, I'm looking at this job description. I could see from her resume she's a relatively senior person, and this marketing content specialist position that she was interviewing for on the salary said $70,000 to $90,000. And she's going to go in and talk to the CEO, and she's explaining to me how she talked to the recruiter and this and that, and then she went through the interview process, and all of a sudden there was some news that they might go up to $120,000. She wanted my counsel on how do you approach this. I said, okay, I looked at the job description. I said, all right, what I need you to do before I meet with you on Monday, there's some information in your coaching program. I need you to go through this. Basically, I need you to make a list of all of the things that are necessary, the activities and the objectives and the deliverables for you to take this company from here to here. What's necessary? Like what actually needs to be done? And in alignment with your capabilities, like what can you do for them? I'm able to. And this is what I think you need. This is why I think you need it. Here's what it's going to do for you. And here's how much the value you're going to realize, more leads and easier, lower cost leads and better conversions and all these other things that she listed out. So she does this and she sends it to me. It was awesome. I wanted to frame the dang thing. It was so beautiful. And so we started to talk. And she said to me, okay, well, I obviously I'm more than qualified to do what they were asking. And I said to her, okay, and she said, well, the CEO, he's kind of stodgy. He's real old school. He's telling me he doesn't negotiate. He's just telling me he wants my number, and I'm not sure what to do. And obviously she didn't want to leave money on the table, but she wants to make sure she can kind of show she knows what she's worth. So I said to her, okay, this is great. So one of a couple things is going to happen. And when you go in here, before I tell you what I think is going to happen, I want you to tell me, do you want to take this job? Meaning, no matter what he agrees to, you're going to take this job. She says, I want this job. I need this job. Meaning I need it because I'm not making money and I need income. And I said, oh, okay, all right, I understand. Let's talk through this. One of a couple things is going to happen. You're going to go and you're going to sit down with him. And he's going to say, Karen, I don't want to see any of this. I just want you to tell me what you want. I asked you to come with a number. And that's one thing he could say. And in the wake of that, your rebuttal should be, I can only give you a number if we agree on what I'm going to ultimately do and the value it's going to contribute. I can't give you a number, right? Because then there's no way for me to justify it. I can't assemble it, because if you want me to do some low-level stuff, and you don't agree to this, then I'm not the person for you. You could pay somebody a fraction of my rate and hire them to do what it is that you think they should do. So that's one option. He might just not sit for it. Second option is he might listen to you and just say, hey, this is great, but this is all I want you to do. This is really all I care about. That's another option. The third option is, hey, this is great. I believe you. This is everything I want. I totally support this. I agree with you. This is necessary. What's your number? That's okay too. And I said, when you get in there, answer this question for me. If he says, no, just give me a number, what are you going to say? Can you walk away? And she said, yes. And I was so proud to hear that, because what that meant was she was not going to settle for what was less, because this company, because I said to her, if you take some compensation, whether it's everything you want, it doesn't even matter. If he gives you exactly what you want, you're going to be operating day in and day out with a company that doesn't believe or tap into your ability to help them get to where they actually can be, because it doesn't matter to them. They don't care that much. And if you want to operate in an environment like that, you are setting yourself up for a life of frustration, at least as it lasts in that company. Because a lot of you do that you join organizations, or you're not investigating how willing the company is and what lengths they'll go to attain what they want, whether that's first in the market or a certain level of growth. And then it's in turn with you and your abilities to help you max out your professional growth. And so I want you to think about, are you maxing out what you can do? Are you presenting that? Are you surrounding yourself with the right people? And are you joining the right companies? Are the companies that you're in right now, are they supporting your growth at that level? Are you doing what is necessary to support the growth they can attain based on the skills you do have? And I will tell you, I was thinking long and hard about this as I was looking at some of the people I coached over the last couple of weeks, and Karen in particular, and I assure you this is true. You are all one skill away from doubling your pay. One skill away from doubling your pay. The difference between the 70 to 90,000 makeup, the job description that they had, and what she could do as somebody who earns twice that amount of money, is she said it isn't just about putting some PowerPoints together, making some presentations, or putting social media messages out there. It's having a strategy that taps into how you actually will gather those leads, get your market awareness up, gather those leads, take those leads and turn them into prospects that convert them more cheaply and at a higher rate. The person who understands that strategy gets paid twice as much money as the person who understands how to use the social media platforms to post the messages, can even write the messages. right? So who's tracking with mastery? There's one skill, one, and you're just on your board, on your trajectory, whatever it is on your list, that will double your pay. And I'm not saying you're going to learn that skill overnight. It might take a few years, but you got a few years, right? You got the time. The time's going to pass anyway. So you may as well put the time in. So are you the kind of person that is going to mistake feedback for failure? Are you the kind of person that's going to do whatever it takes to max out your abilities? Are you going to look for the ways to put in the time, to grow the skills, to get the most out of you? This book I'm writing, it's really hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. It isn't writing itself that's hard. It's the content itself and bringing a methodology out of thin air so that lots of people can use it, where I've done my best to universally test it, to provide you the lessons that I think will transcend your white-collar profession. There's something like this for you that's going to draw out your best abilities. I want you to find it, and I want you to put the time in to do it. And I don't want you to settle. And most importantly, I want you to burn the boat. Okay, so give me a burn the boat in the chat before I sign off on this and we get into the Q&A. But I hope you enjoyed that little pep talk. I hope you burn the boat. I hope you work the skill that's going to double your salary, and just put the time in. It's worth it. All right, if you enjoyed this, click the like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Share this with your friends. If you're here with me live, we're going to the chat. If you're watching this on the recording, I'll see you next week.